Okay, I have a video here showing you how to add your own radio station to Fallout 4 using the creation kit. Now this actually isn't as straightforward as you might think. There's not like a form type called, radio stations and you just add a new one and then add songs to that. The radio stations are actually done as like quests that have scenes. So I'm going to try to make this as easy to follow as possible, but it would help if you had a little bit of creation kit knowledge, though. If you're a complete noob, hopefully it's easy enough to follow. So what you're going to first want are your songs you're going to add to your radio station in .wav format, which I have right here. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to go to my Fallout 4 data folder. And if you don't have a folder called sound, make one. And make a folder called FX, then MUS, then radio. And then create a new folder and name it after your plugin or your mod. So I'm going to call mine Sonic Radio, radio.esp, and I'm going to put the songs in there. This way, if somebody's sorting through their files, they know which mod the files came from. So I'll just minimize that, and I'm going to start up the creation kit. Creation Kit is currently in beta, so it's available with the Bethesda.net launcher and not in Steam, but normally, hopefully, if they add it to Steam, which I think they will, it'll be under your library, under tools, and it should be right there, like the Skyrim Creation Kit. However, now I have a shortcut, so I'm just going to launch it with that. So I'm going to go to File, Data, and I'm going to load any masters or plugins that I want to use and that my mod depends on, but I don't really have any other plugins that my mod depends on or any masters that I want to use. Say if you wanted, for some reason, if you wanted the data in the robot DLC, I think it's called Automaton, you would go ahead and double check DLC robots so that you had that data loaded in the creation kit when you went to make your mod. But I'm not using any of that, so I'm just going to go ahead and load fallout4.esm. And I guess one more thing, if you're editing an already existing mod, you double check that mod, double click, whatever, and then click set as active file. But like I said, I'm making a new mod relying only on fallout4.esm. Okay, when it's loaded up, it's a good idea to save it and name your plugin. And you want to save as often as possible, as a rule of thumb with the creation kit, because Skyrim's creation kit and previous creation kits crashed frequently. So it's a safe assumption that because this game engine is basically an evolution of Morrowind's, and so I believe so is a creation kit. They're quite similar. It's a good idea to save as often as you can. So what I'm first going to want to do is I'm just going to minimize this stuff. I'm going to want to go to the Audio tab and to the Sound Descriptors tab and add the songs for the radio station, because they're actually not music tracks, which I initially thought they were. So I'm going to right click in this space and click New, and I'm going to give them an editor ID. Alright, and then I'm going to go under Sound here, right click New, find the folder that I made, and add the song. Category should be Audio Category Radio, although I do not think it matters too much. And the output model should be stereo because you don't want it coming in mono. Static attenuation, you want to, if the audio files you have are what you'd consider to be like a normal volume, you're probably going to want to put static attenuation at about -12 or 13 decibels, because they tend to play quite loud compared to the rest of the game. So I'm going to put mine at -12 for each song, and then I'm going to click OK. You can mess with the other settings, although I have really no need to, so I'm not going to. And I'm going to add each new song one by one. Okay, now that I'm done that, I just want to add that you'll see I put 00. I prefix the editor IDs with 00. That's because it makes them easier to find And sometimes with large mods, you can completely forget that you added something, and at the end of the day, you'll want to know exactly what you added. So you can go ahead and just go to all and sort by editor ID, and then you can see everything that's prefixed with 00 you know you added. So that's why I go ahead and do that. You could prefix it with Z0 or A0. People have different schools of thought when it comes to that. So now that I'm done adding the songs, I'm going to want to go to miscellaneous. Actually, I'm going to type in the filter radio, expand miscellaneous, then go to message. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate Radio Display Institute and rename it. Hit F2. I'll call it 00 Radio Display Sonic. Just follow Bethesda's naming convention. And create a new object if you hit yes, or no to rename. I've already duplicated it, so I hit no to rename. And if your object's being used by anything, it'll go ahead and tell you that. If you do change an editor ID when it's in use, it'll go ahead and break whatever is using it pretty much. So keep that in mind. Alright, so I'm going to open that message, and it says classical radio because the institute, or the classical radio quest, is actually called like Radio Institute Quest or whatever. So I'm going to change that. This is how our radio station is going to display in the Pip-Boy. So I'm just going to call it Sonic Radio and change the message text too. And then click OK. Now I'm going to go in the filter and type transmitter after radio. I spelled that wrong anyway. There, transmitter. Collapse miscellaneous and open up world objects. And you can see here the activator radio transmitter. And what I'm going to do is add that to the world. So this is basically where the radio station is technically broadcast from. So this is the cell view, and what I'm going to do is add it to Sanctuary. So I'm going to hit this drop down box, and now they added this recent cell. So if you keep going between different cells, it's easier to just highlight recent cells. But to get to Sanctuary, I do Commonwealth, which is basically the entire kind of Fallout world, and then you have kind of sub-world spaces, I guess you can think of them like that, like Diamond City and Good Neighbor. And Sanctuary Hills world is actually Sanctuary Hills before the apocalypse, so I don't want that. So I want Commonwealth, and then I'm just going to quickly type, when this loads up, SANC to filter it quickly. So there I go, Sanctuary Exterior, so I'm going to double click that. Okay, so when it loads up, it sometimes takes a while. I have Sanctuary here, and you can see all these markers. They're a bit of a pain in the ass. You can hit M to turn them off, but the thing we're adding is technically a marker, so you want to be able to see that. So I hit M again, and it's taking a while to load up. Click on an object, and then you can hold Shift to rotate around that object. The object I've clicked, the center is somewhere, it's very large, so that's why it's rotating in a strange way. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag radio transmitter here, and you hit T to go up top of it, D to deselect it. And that's a good thing if you want to kind of reset where the camera orbits. Is just hit D and click the object again, or hit D and select a new object. So I'm holding Shift to kind of rotate around here, and you can use the mouse wheel to zoom out, or click and hold the mouse wheel to pan. But I'm going to double click the radio transmitter. I'm going to give it a reference editor ID. This is actually not necessary, but it's easier. So Sonic transmitter ref. Alright, and I'm basically kind of following the naming convention Bethesda used. So here I have radio data and radio station. If it's negative, it basically has no radio station. Now, as you can imagine, radio stations that are already in the game already have numbers assigned to them, so you want to be careful not to select one of those numbers. Now, there is a way of determining which radio stations are already assigned, and I'll just show you quickly. So I go over here, I right-click radio transmitter, I click Use Info, and then I can see what's using it. And then what I'd have to do, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, is double-click each one, load it into the render window, and then I'd go ahead and find that radio transmitter once the render window is loaded, and I'd double-click it, and then I'd go to the radio data on it, and then find out what it's mapped to. And that's actually, as you can see, it's being used by several things. So I don't want to do all that. But I did find that, let me X out of here. Click this again. I found that 87 works as a radio station. I believe, take this with a grain of salt too. I believe that 99 or 100 is the maximum number that a radio station can be assigned. So keep all this in mind. And when the Creation Kit wiki is a bit more fleshed out and people add to it, there will probably be a list of radio stations that you can use that are not in use, and some more information on radio station data. So I'm going to click OK once I've given it the number 87, because I can't really click outside here. So, and then go into it again, and I'm going to check Ignore Distance Checks, because I really want the radio station to broadcast anywhere. Now, if you don't want the radio station to broadcast anywhere, go ahead and uncheck that. And I'm going to click OK here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete radio transmitter from the filter box. Collapse world objects and expand character. Go to quest. Right click in here and go to new quest, or new. I'm going to give it an editor ID, 00 radio sonic quest. I'm just going to call this Sonic Radio. They Bethesda for Institute Radio use the priority of 30, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as well. I'm going to uncheck Run Once, and you can see if you're not familiar with the Quest tab, you're not going to really notice it, but not every option is selectable. So I'm going to click OK and then go back into it to make sure each option is selectable. So you can see here there's a load more stuff you can select. So leave everything here pretty much as it is. Ignore quest stages and quest objectives and go straight to quest aliases. Right click in quest aliases and select new reference alias and give the alias a name. I usually prefix alias with alias underscore. That's not really what I notice that anybody else does, but I prefer to do it this way. So alias radio transmitter ref. And display name, this is important, you're going to want to select the message that you created earlier, 00 radio display sonic for me, and click specific reference, then hit select forced reference, and you can go ahead and select in render window or select yourself from the drop down box any reference. But if you didn't give it a reference editor ID, it'll be hard to kind of determine which one it is. So I'm going to click select reference in render window, double click, and make sure the editor ID didn't come up. That's funny. Let me click OK, and it says this alias could use and for this you want to check no, and my editor reference editor ID didn't really show up, so I'm going to check on that real quick, because the Creation Kit can be a bit strange. Yeah, I guess I messed up typing it, so I'm going to give it a reference editor ID now. There we go. Click OK now. I don't know if that was just me being tired or the Creation Kit being buggy. Either one's possible. So I'm going back into quest aliases now. Make sure it's filled out correctly, and you want uses stored text to be checked, and leave everything else as it is. So click OK. Now you're going to want to go over to scripts, and what we're going to do is we're going to add the Institute radio script, or the classical radio. And actually, as you can see, I already did this once before. Okay, so I'm going to add the Institute radio script, so I'm going to filter it. Believe it's called yeah, there we go, Institute Quest script. So I'm going to double click that. And we're not going to really use this, but we're going to copy the source, because why write our own when Bethesda wrote one? So hit Control A and then Control C to copy. You can't actually right click in here, so you do need to use Control A and Control C. Then exit out of it. Don't save any changes to it, by the way. And then click Remove. Then click Add again and add your own. So click New Script, click OK, and then name your script. You can prefix it with an underscore if you like. That way it filters to the top. Radio Sonic Quest script. Call it that. And make sure it extends Quest, and make sure it is conditional. Click OK. And it brings you to the properties box with this one. It doesn't do that with Skyrim's, but I'm going to right click it and edit source. Expand that, make it a little larger. Control V to copy and delete the old script name. And now it's good to know how many songs you have. I have 5 songs. So you can see here there are several integer properties for songs up to 18 for the last song played. But because I only have 5 songs, I don't need last song played 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. Now, I was tired when I was making this last night, or technically in the morning if you look at the time. And I forgot to add that you technically don't need a last song played property for each of the songs you're going to add. You'll see what I mean later down the line in the video. But basically, you'll need a last song played property for as many songs as you want before the radio station starts repeating tracks. So if I don't want the radio station to repeat for like 8 tracks, you'll need up to last song played 8. And again, you'll see what I mean later down the line, but just keep that in mind. I like to have it for each of the songs just in case. So yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a multi-line comment. So to do that, start with a semicolon and then a /, and then that's where you want the comment to begin, and where you want the comment to end, /, and then semicolon. So basically what that does is when it's compiling, it tells the compiler to ignore all of this. Now you can go ahead and comment out each line individual with just semicolons, but I'm going to use a multi-line comment here. And obviously if your radio station has more songs, you're going to want to account for that. So don't comment out, all the ones that I'm commenting out if you obviously have like 10 songs. If you have more songs, you're going to want to go ahead and obviously not comment out any of these and add more properties. So say you had 19 songs, right? So I would just make sure they're not commented, copy the last bit of text, paste it, and then just change last song played to 19. But I have 5 songs, so I do not need to do that. So I'm going to add my comment again. And here we have the function update radio. Obviously, we don't need the last song played, all these variables. Actually, if we try to save it, because these are commented out and the compiler is ignoring these, it doesn't know what these variables are above last song played 5, so it wouldn't even compile. So we're going to comment out, I'm going to comment out all songs above, or all last song played variables above 5. So the leftmost variable is what you're going to want to look at here. And I can save it now. Now, I probably didn't do a great job explaining this. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best I can. So I'm going to hit Control S to save this. It's going to compile. If you get a compilation error, again, put them in the comments. I'll see what I can do. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a scripter. I just write basic scripts, so I'll do my best to help you. But if it's fine, it should say save succeeded, and then you can exit out. Don't assign any values to the properties. You don't want to do that. And I'm going to click OK and save right now, just to make sure, because I'm worried about it crashing. Even though Fallout 4's Creation Kit hasn't actually crashed on me yet, surprisingly. So I'm going to create a scene now. So click Scene, and then over in Editor ID, right-click, click New. I'll call it 00 Radio Sonic Quest Scene. Scene 01 actually, because if I want to add more scenes, it makes it easier. And click that, and then right-click in this white space here. Click New Actor, and select your transmitter ref alias. So do that. And what I'm going to do now is right-click and add phase at end. This is going to add a new phase. And what I'm going to want to do, actually, before I do anything else, make sure begin on quest start is checked. That's very important. I forgot that. Anyway, back to this. I'm going to want to add 2 phases. So outside of phase 1, you just click add phase at end. And then after I add these 2 phases, I'm going to want to add 1 phase for each of the songs I have. So I have 5 songs, so I'm going to add 5 more phases. And I can just scroll out to zoom out here. So I should have 7 phases here. Let me just make sure. Yep, so these first 2 phases we'll get to later. The next 5 phases are for the songs, and then you want to add 1 more phase after that. That's insert phase before. You want to make sure it says phase at end. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that final phase I added, and you may want to check show scene links. And in the final phase I add, I'm going to right click New Action, Start Scene, and I'm going to right click under where it says Editor ID, New, and I'm going to start the scene 00 Radio Sonic Quest Scene 01. Click OK. Click OK again. And if you click OK out of the quest dialog box and then reopen the quest, it should have a line here pointing from the final phase to the very first phase. Now for all of the song phases we have, which for me is 3 to 7, you're going to want to add a condition. So you double click here where it says phase, go to start, right click new. Then for the condition function, get VM quest variable. Then click here, and the second parameter should show up. Sometimes it actually doesn't show up if you haven't exited out of the quest box yet. So I want that to be current song. Click OK. Current song is equal to. This is unequal. This is obviously less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, but I want mine to be equal to 1 because this is the first song. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK again. So you can see here the start condition. In order for this phase to start, the current song variable has to be 1. So for the next phase, phase 4, double click that and go to start and create a new condition. And it's going to be get VM quest variable again. And for the second parameter, current song. But now this is the second song, so I'm going to want it to have a value of 2. And so on and so forth for each song you have. Okay, so I'm done that, and as you can see, the highest value we have here for our checks for the current song variable is 5 because I have 5 songs. Sorry if I'm kind of repeating that concept. I just want to make sure I kind of clarify that. So now I'm going to go back to the phase 3, which is my first song. I'm going to right click here, New Action, Radio. And then I can name this too. So first I'm going to want to select the song. So you just go to select sound here. Then you have the songs you added. So this is Casino Night. So I'm going to go ahead and just name it so I can easily kind of determine which song it is without going into here. Casino Night. Alright. Click OK. And just do that for all of your songs. Okay. So when you're done adding these songs, actually it's a good idea to go ahead and save again, to be honest. When you're done adding all the songs and saving, you're going to go over here to phase 2, right click, new action, radio, and these are basically responses. So what you're going to want to do is under info, right click, new, then double click that, and we're going to do this for each one of our songs. So response text, if I don't put anything here, it's going to keep prompting me every time I come back to here, so I'm going to put a space and then click OK, so it won't prompt me every time I open this again. And I'm going to want to make sure it says random, so check random. And under conditions, I'm going to right click, new, get VM quest variable, check here, parameter 2 is going to be last song played 1. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to want the comparison to be unequal to. And I'm going to want the value to be 1 because this is song number 1 we're working on here. So when that's done, click OK. And I'm actually going to add another condition. And I'm going to basically have the same thing except for parameter 2 is going to be last song played 2 and unequal to 1. So basically what this does is this is randomized. So when it's randomized, it makes sure that when it plays this song, it wasn't among the last 2 played, so it doesn't kind of repeat like over and over again. So if you don't want your, kind of radio station repeating itself a lot, you want to add checks for about half of the songs you have. So if I had, say, 30 songs on my radio station, if you don't want it to repeat for another 15 songs, you'd go ahead and keep adding these conditions for up to last song played 15. And I hope I explained that well. So basically, for each condition you add, you're going to be incrementing last song played from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and this will make sure that that song is not played for that many times. So if I have this up to last song played 8, that song won't repeat until 8 other songs have played that are not, that song. Terrible at explaining these kinds of things, probably because I'm just dumb or something, I don't know. Either way, if you have any questions, and if that was poorly explained, just go ahead and put your question in the comment. I'll explain it a little bit better if I can. But now I'm going to want to go to where it says scripts, tick run fragment, make sure KMY quest is our quest script, and then type KMY quest dot current song is 1. So this sets the value of the current song variable to 1. And obviously if I'm doing this for song 2, the next time I'm actually going to create one of these, I would want current song to be 2. So next after this, I'm going to add the fragment KMY quest dot update date radio, and then open parentheses and close parentheses, and this calls the function update radio, which you saw in the script earlier. So when I'm done that, click compile, then click OK. And just so I can kind of clarify this better so you get a better idea, I'm going to show you the next one I do, then I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the rest. So that was song 1 we did that for. Now we're going to do it for song 2. So space here. Alright, check random, create those conditions so that songs don't repeat easily. That song played. But instead this time, for the value, I'm going to want to make sure it's unequal to 2 because this is song number 2. and I don't want it to repeat for at least 2 times, so for at least 2 other songs. So I'm going to just add one more condition here for last song played 2. And make sure the value of that is 2. And the value of the comparison of the value of the integer we're comparing it to should reflect the number of the song. So run fragment again, make sure KMY quest is the radio or your quest script, and then KMY quest dot current song equals 2 because we're doing this for our second song. KMY quest dot update radio, open parentheses, close parentheses, and compile. And then click OK, and continue to do this for the rest of your songs. Okay, now I'm done adding responses for each of the 5 songs. And under here you see where it says flags, and this is just kind of helpful in case you're worried if you forget anything, and also conditions here. You can see that it says PB, which I believe means papyrus beginning, so that means you added a fragment to the beginning, which you want for each one of these. And R means random, which you also want. And you can see here, make sure you've added the conditions, because doing something like this repeatedly can get very tedious, and for me it's easy for my mind to wander and I'll forget to do something. So after I add all these responses, I kind of check here to make sure that everything I did was correct. So I can click OK here. And I'm going to save again. Now I'm done this, and all I need to do is generate an SEQ file whenever you create a mod / plugin that has a quest in it. You need to generate an SEQ file for that mod. So I'll go over how to do that, but before I do, I just want to say that there is a way to go ahead and add news to your radio station. You can add a DJ. You can also have a DJ introduce a specific song, and what I'm going to do is, because I feel like this video is going to be very long, is add that as like an annotation so that you can go ahead and finish up with this video, and then if you want to go ahead and do that stuff, add a DJ, you can go ahead and watch that video. So I'm going to make sure I save chronically with the creation kit, so I'm all saved here, so I can go ahead and exit out. Now I need to exit out to generate the SEQ file, but when you're testing a mod, it's a good idea to just save twice, don't exit out of the creation kit, and boot up your game. So that way, if you did do something wrong and you need to reload the creation kit, you do not have to go ahead and load it all up again. Now, if the creation kit is added to Steam, which I believe it will be, to generate an SEQ file, you just go Library Tools, and I'll just use Skyrim Creation Kit for an example. Right-click it, go to Properties, Set Launch Options, hyphen, I believe this is case sensitive too, so generate SEQ, colon, the name of your mod. So mine is Sonic Radio.esp, and then you'd click OK, and then close, and then run the Creation Kit, but I don't want that. I don't want Skyrim Creation Kit to do that, so I'll delete that launch option. Now, what I have to do, because I can't really launch the Fallout 4 Creation Kit through Skyrim, or through Steam, sorry, I'm tired, is I'll go to the Fallout 4 folder where the executables are, and I have my Creation Kit here. So I'm going to create a shortcut for this. You can make it anywhere. I'm just going to create it on the desktop. And I'm going to right-click the shortcut, go to Properties. Under Target, don't delete this, but after it, put a space, a hyphen, and then the same thing we typed earlier. So generate SEQ, Sonic radio.esp. Click Apply, click OK, and then run the Creation Kit from that shortcut. And it'll go ahead, create an SEQ, and then close out automatically. And then you're going to want to delete that launch option from the shortcut, because if you ever launch from that shortcut again, it'll just generate another SEQ file. Okay, when it's done generating the SEQ, you should, if you're going to launch from the shortcut again, delete the launch options from the shortcut. I'm just going to delete the shortcut entirely. And The SEQ will save in the Fallout 4 root folder where all the executables are. So here I have sonicradio.seq. I'm going to cut that and paste it in an SEQ folder under data. You can make one if you don't have one. And I don't believe it'll generate the SEQ if the name of the ESP is wrong, but I'm just going to double check that I have. So yep, names are matching, which is good. Now I'm just going to want to make sure I have it enabled through Fallout 4's launcher or like Nexus Mod Manager, or if they do update Mod Organizer for Fallout 4, which I don't think they've done quite yet. So yep, it's checked there. So I'm just going to launch Fallout 4. Oh my god. Yeah, I haven't deleted my Christmas mod background there, but whatever. Right now, usually I mess something up, but assuming I didn't. Yep, under radio I have Sonic Radio, so just click that. And it'll play my Sonic Radio songs. There's usually a pause in between the songs, just while it figures everything out, which is not really a problem. Just the game engine. But yeah, hopefully I'll get around to adding how to add a DJ to your radio station and everything. And if you have any questions, which I imagine some people will, just post them in the comments. But hopefully if you have an issue, like a specific issue, please explain it as much as you can, because if you don't, I'm just going to have to reply back like, oh, I need more information to even be able to help you. So thanks for watching.